Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about War Horse, and this movie is directed by Steven Spielberg, and it came out in 2011, and it was one of his films I have not seen yet, and I guess it's, in the grand scheme of his filmography, it's one of his newer films, you could classify it as, and I thought this movie was pretty bad, and I kind of hate this movie. I was kind of surprised by the end of it. I was like, okay, there are some things that I kind of like, but by the end of it, they ultimately just mean nothing. And I was just left unsatisfied. Didn't really like much about it. The movie looked nice, and the acting was mostly good. There were some good characters that I enjoyed seeing on screen, and they were all side characters. And you might be thinking to yourself, okay, with a lot of likable, enjoyable to watch side characters in this movie, you might have a pretty good movie if like the main character isn't like doing much for you, because I didn't really like the main character in this movie. I just found him to be really dull and boring to watch, and very what you would expect from any typical story like this, and they just do nothing special with his character. But the side characters are much better than the main character in my opinion, and unfortunately, you only get so much screen time with these side characters, and each of them has like no more than 10, 20 minutes tops. And then they leave, and then you never see them again. And in a sense, it's kind of like Barry Lyndon, where there's characters that just show up and leave, and you never see them again. But they're so memorable and well written and really great that they leave such an impact on the story. And in a sense, that's kind of the same thing here, but unfortunately, it's not attached to a story that I particularly care for. And all the characters that I liked didn't really get enough screen time. And honestly, if any of those characters were the main character, you would have a pretty good movie. Instead, we have a really bad movie that has nothing to offer. And you're supposed to care about this horse, I guess, which I guess is fine. But I just didn't really feel as though that was like where the emotions of the story were, is just caring about a horse. Like, it's probably best if it's focused on a character that's not a horse, probably. This might be a part in my review where I divide certain people, but I wasn't a fan of the music in this movie. I just felt as though it was very sappy, generic, and just sounded like other things I've heard in other movies. And also, there were points in the movie where the score was just overused, and just in scenes where it really did not need it at all. And it honestly just dragged certain scenes down because of that. Now, there were moments where it was fine, but it just didn't leave an impact on me, and I honestly forgot about it. And the composer was John Williams, and I was honestly surprised. I did not think I could dislike any of his scores, but here we are. Might be the first one that I didn't really like in a while. And there were lots of cheesy side characters, and there was even an antagonist character towards the beginning who didn't need to be there, and they were just honestly a mustache twirling villain, and I just wanted them to get off the screen because they were just dragging everything down, and the movie is way too long. It does not need to be 2.5 hours long. Honestly, if this movie just started focused on the horse right as we got into the war, that would have been fine, in my opinion. And there was also some forced drama that I didn't care about, and I just didn't really buy a lot of these main characters as real people because they just felt so cheesy and unbelievable to me. Like, there was nothing about them that felt authentic. They just felt like cartoon characters almost, or even characters that you would see in a Disney movie. But I just didn't buy them as real people. And there were times where I felt as though the dialogue was pretty weak, and I just didn't really get engaged through the dialogue. And the best characters in this movie for me were Tom Hiddleston. I felt he was kind of a somewhat likable character. He didn't have a lot of screen time, but once we got to his character on screen, I was like, okay, I'm starting to like this a bit better because we actually have something story-wise that's like somewhat compelling. I was like, okay, we have something. But then the movie shifts directions, and then you don't see him again, and then you get some other side characters like, okay, those are interesting characters. Kind of, they have a story attached to them, and then you don't see those characters again, and You get more characters and more characters. And they're all somewhat interesting characters, these side characters, like I've said before, but they just don't have enough screen time to carry the movie. And the movie got pretty repetitive very quickly, and as you can probably guess, that was not a pleasant experience for me. And another thing that really let me down about this movie is that this is a war movie, and it's a PG-13 war movie, but you can still make a good movie out of a PG-13 war movie. So how do the action scenes work? Because Steven Spielberg, he made some really great movies, and he even directed Saving Private Ryan, which I personally am not a fan of, but that's probably going to upset a lot of people. But still, we have someone who is known for being able to adapt to different genres and do them, at the very least, pretty well. So at least we can probably get some good action scenes because he did the Indiana Jones movies, the first 4, and some other stuff like Jaws and Jurassic Park. So maybe we got to the action to hold on to, right? No, unfortunately, we do not. The action scenes are just way too goofy and clumsy and very cheesy. And I couldn't take them seriously. So we don't have a good story. We don't have a good main character. We don't have a good action scenes. I don't like the music. The movie looks nice, but what am I supposed to hold on to as far as the substance of the movie goes? And overall, there wasn't really a moment in this movie where I felt attached to anything in this movie. There were a couple moments where I did kind of chuckle a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of fun to watch. And the one girl and her grandfather, I felt as though those were the best characters in the movie, and if they were the main characters, probably would have loved this movie, but they were not, and so we have a really bland movie at best. This movie just offered nothing. It was cheesy, dumb, stupid. I hated it, and I just never wish to see this movie again. So, with all that being said, I'm going to give Warhorse a 3 out of 10. And to talk a little bit about Steven Spielberg, just for a little bit, I know I already gave my rating, but I just want to mention this really quickly. His movies are kind of hit and miss for me overall. Some of them are pretty great, some of them I don't really enjoy that much. I love Jurassic Park, Jaws, and even The Lost World I enjoy. I like that movie a decent amount, and Indiana Jones trilogy, those ones are good, and Hook, I think that movie's great. Close Encounters of the Third Kind was decent. E.T., that was fine. Catch Me If You Can was fine. The Terminal was fine. Bridge of Spies was decent. Saving Private Ryan, I can do without. I didn't care for that one. War of the Worlds was fine. Minority Report was fine. Overall, he's made a lot of movies that are just fine. And Ready Player One and The Post, I barely remember and can't really tell you much about them. And The Fabelmans, I remember being fine. Lots of movies that I just don't connect with. And AI, Artificial Intelligence, that one I haven't mentioned. That one is pretty good. I like that one. And there's probably a few that I didn't mention, but overall, that's how I feel about them. Some really good ones, some movies I don't connect with, and this one was easily my least favorite. I guess I haven't seen 1941 yet, but well, I'll get to that eventually at some point. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below you thought of Warhorse, and my social media links, they will all be in the description, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that is going to be for 7 Psychopaths. So look forward to that, but until I get that up, thank you for watching and have a great day.